Hey there, I'm Steve. Welcome to Jamsin Entertainment. Welcome to the conversation. Just before we get started, there are many ways you can help. You can like and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. But most importantly, please share this video. Get the word out there to this community. We can talk about all the things that we love. Today on Throwback Thursday, we're looking at Home Alone, starring Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern. This is my favorite Christmas movie. Came out in 1990. I was 5 years old, and this is like every kid's dream. Take on the bad guys, booby trapping your own home. This was probably Macaulay Culkin's height of fame. I mean, I know he's done other things. He was in Uncle Buck a few years before that, and he did Home Alone 2. He did a movie called The Good Son. I've heard a lot about it. It also stars Elijah Wood. I might have to check that one out. And he did Richie Rich. I'm not sure he done other movies, but like every kid in the 90s was imitating Kevin McAllister character, especially the And the one they normally do is when Kevin's in the bathroom putting on, like, aftershave, because it burns. But he does this a lot in the movie. For those of you who don't know the premise of Home Alone, and shame on you, the movie's 31 years old, and I feel old saying that. Yeah, 31 years old. Can you imagine? I couldn't imagine this being a classic. Now it's a classic. Premise of the movie is this huge family is at the Mcallister's house in Chicago, or one of the suburbs of Chicago. And the idea is they all go to Paris the next morning. One of the brothers of the adults is there. Something like that. And Kevin, he's a little jerk. They do a good job of that. And there's one thing in here that I can't believe until this viewing that I caught on to it. I never caught on to this, and I knew if I did this, I would be in trouble. His mom is on the phone in the parents' bedroom, and Kevin just jumps on the bed and she tells him to get off repeatedly. And there's one time he says, "Why don't you get off the phone and make me, why don't you?" If I said that to my parents, there'd be consequences. She just kind of rolls her eyes at him and just goes about her business. This is where all the characters get introduced. I mean, they're like very side, minor characters that they introduce. They don't really play that much a role. It's really just the mom, Kevin, Marv, and Harry. It's really just them. The dad a little bit. The night before they're supposed to leave, there's a power outage because a branch falls on the lines, and they wake up late. And so in the hurry and hustle and bustle of getting to the vans that will take them to the airport, they forget Kevin at home. This movie is, what would a kid dream of doing? Not what a kid actually would do. What would a kid dream of doing if he got left home alone around the holidays? Yeah, eating all the ice cream, while eating all the junk food, staying up late, jumping on beds, doing everything you're told not to do. That's what a kid would do, or would dream of doing, if they were left home alone. In reality, the kid would probably be bawling their eyes out, trying to call everyone and their mother. Of course, this is the 90s, so he couldn't really call his mom. Yeah, for you young people out there, why am I saying that? Because it makes me sound older. I'm only 36! There are no cell phones back then. Or if there were cell phones, they were extremely primitive and not everyone had it, when it was like rich business people. The other part of the plot is you have these two robbers, the Wet Bandits, played by Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci. Daniel Stern is Marv, Joe Pesci's Harry. They are casing the neighborhood so that they can rob it, and there's about 4 or 5 homes, and the Mcallister's house is like what they call the silver tuna. Creme de la creme. They introduce Harry first. He's impersonating a cop at the Mcallister's place, which it's not weird that he's impersonating a cop. I mean, that's wrong for one. But the fact that he's just in the house standing there and everyone's going back and forth paying him no mind is what? It's normal just to have a cop standing in your foyer? Of course, it is a movie, but it's just kind of weird. He's there just to find out when they're leaving, if they're leaving, where they're going, and how long they're going to be away for, and stuff like that, because he's casing the joint. They introduce Marv later in the van, and these two just play very well off each other. Very good comedic duo. This movie has a bunch of running gags. One of them revolves revolves around this bronze statue. It keeps on getting hit with cars, vans, trucks. Just keep knocking it over and putting it back. The first car to hit it is the first car I ever owned, the Dodge Omni. And the car in the movie is even the same color as my car. So the Mcallister House is a famous house. It's been featured in more than one movie. I know it's in Uncle Buck. It's not the house where that family lives in that movie. It's, I believe, the house across the street. It might actually be the one where John Candy's knocking on the door at 2 a.m. trying to get the attention of his brother, but he lives across the street. I think that might be the house. I'm not sure. And just this year, someone, probably with too much money on their hands, bought the Mcallister House and supposedly restored it to look like the movie. And knowing this, I'm watching the movie and it was like, there's no way they completely restored this house. You know how many details are in this? And just because I work in big box hardware, the tile that's in here, it's no longer made. I think I'm more speculating what they would have to go through to actually make it look like the Mcallister House back in 1990. It's a lot. There's wallpaper, like everything that's in this house is 30 years old. For the movie, crews go in and they set up the house for the way they want it to look for the movie. And that's pretty cool because they actually will go to houses and ask the people that live there, can we use your house for this movie? We'll decorate it up the way we want it for the movie and then we'll put it back the way you had it, or you can keep it the way we decorate it. So I've heard about movies shot in real houses. So I guess it would be 30-year-old, like paint, wallpaper, tile, all that stuff, no longer in production. If they actually went down to the minute detail to, here's the other crazy thing, whoever did this put up the house for B&B one night, $25. If they went through all that trouble to get the minute detail, $25, this is just a rich person who has way too much money on their hands to do this. A rich person who loves Home Alone. And I just thought, what if it's Macaulay Culkin that did this? That would be hilarious. I mean, a couple years ago, he did redo some of the scenes as an adult for Home Alone. It was a commercial for something. I can't remember what it was, but he did it. You could find it on YouTube. I saw it on Instagram because he has an Instagram profile, but boy, wouldn't that be hilarious if, like, anonymously, Macaulay Culkin's redid the Home Alone house and set it up as a B&B just as a gag because he can. Probably not, but it would be hilarious. Wow, I'm really going off more on nostalgia than I am about the movie, but I can't help it. I'm nostalgic for this movie. If you haven't seen the movie, the robbers go to the house, but Kevin is prepared for them. They slip on ice. Myron gets an iron like dropped on his head. It leaves an impression. They slip on micro machines. He uses old Christmas tree decorations as like spikes, even though you have to pop them because they're made of glass. You have to pop them and then they become lethal. Tar. He lights Harry's head on fire. Actually, heat is a weapon used against Harry twice because the first time he's going through or trying to get through the front door, even though the steps are iced. So there's a heated element that Kevin put on the other side of the door handle because in real fires, you're told don't touch door handles because they're heated from the other side. Well, Kevin knows this. He puts the heated element on the inside knob so that the outside knob gets hot, and because the McAllisters are like supposed to be like really rich, the outside knob has an M on it for McAllister, and Harry goes to grab it and burns his hand, and it shows up in the next film. He has the M burnt into his hand. Kind of like the villain from the first Indiana Jones movie. This movie is a blast. It's a great family movie. You get to see a kid torture two adults that are trying to rob him. He bests them. It's hilarious. I highly recommend you get this movie on Blu-ray. If it's out in theaters, like for a night or something like that. I've mentioned this before. There are smaller theaters that will show older movies. If you can catch this on the big screen, I highly recommend you catch it on the big screen and then get it on Blu-ray. That is my long ranty thought. Is it really a rant? Going down nostalgia lane review of Home Alone. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what you saw, like it. If you think other people like it, share it. If you really liked it, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching and live your imagination.